Welcome to eXp CultureCast, eXp Realty's official diversity, equity, and inclusion podcast. I'm your host, Cody Gilkeson, the visionary leader behind eXp's DEI strategy. I believe that we all have a story to tell, and that's where this show really shines. We are a vibrant tapestry of diverse backgrounds and experiences, and that's our superpower. In each episode, we'll sit down with thought leaders, industry experts, and change makers who are driving meaningful conversations and actions in the realms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. From personal stories of triumph to deep dives into systemic challenges, CultureCast is your compass in navigating the complex landscape of DEI. This is CultureCast, the bi-weekly podcast about what makes us us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Season 2 of CultureCast. I'm your host, you know me, I'm Cody Gilkeson. I'm here with the delightful, the powerhouse, Ben Lobb. Hi Ben, how are you?
Hey, great, Cody. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So why don't we get started? Just tell everybody a little bit about your background and your real estate journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been quite a journey. It's shocking to me to say when people ask how long have I been licensed, I can say I've been licensed for almost a decade. Never did I dream of reaching this point before until now. So been licensed for almost a decade. Going to have to throw a giant party for that one. And but first, before even real estate, my background is actually technology. And I was going into the tech world to be a programmer and a web design and developer. And my childhood youth kind of like revisited me, and I got this concept of investing in properties from my parents and started exploring real estate when I got a little bored in tech. So moved over to the real estate world 10 years ago and grew as an individual agent, and then finally was able to start feeling confident enough to help others and mentor other agents, and launched our Ben Lobb Homes team. It'll be 4 years in November. So That's been a journey as well.
Yeah, really, I would say so. I know we did a little preliminary talk, and there was a bit there about how your team really took off once you plugged in with the local LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The chamber was a huge, I think, support, not only for me as a gay entrepreneur, but and just networking with the local area business leaders and being able to see how we can support each other's businesses. And even through the LGBT Chamber of Commerce, I met other gay realtors and learned about the Real Estate Alliance, which is the, the LGBT Realtor Professional Organization. So it's, all the LGBTQ realtors across the country. And it was like, oh, okay, now I'm not alone in this anymore. But it definitely helped grow my business and meeting with like-minded people and being able to have a strong connection with people who I haven't met before and have, something in common that could, help us keep business in the family and kind of grow through that community. So both on the team agent attraction side and also on the customer attraction side.
That's brilliant. I love it. And what sort of inspired you to get involved with that LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce? What was it that made you make that decision to seek them out?
It was more so just, part of the normal Chamber of Commerce was kind of intimidating.
Yeah, true.
When starting out as a young entrepreneur, and I ran across it, and one of my friends at the time, who was also turned out to be my banker for the company that we launched, was invited me to the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, and like immediately walking into the first networking event, like, oh, this is totally the vibe, like
right.
Exactly where I need to be. And it just, at the time, it's, I think the Chamber of Commerce now is more inclusive than it was back then. But the obviously the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, walking in there, the first networking meeting, I'm like, oh, felt totally included, was able to volunteer for events, got active in the planning committees. A few years later, I was on the board of directors, helping them plan events. And there was very close collaboration between the Chamber of Commerce in Orlando and or Come Out with Pride, the organization that runs Orlando Pride. And so there was a lot of overlap and being able to network and give back to the community through both organizations.
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. And of course, every community doesn't have an LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, but certainly there are ways that you can dial into local queer-owned businesses as well. Social media is a big piece of that. Here I'm in little bitty Danville, Illinois, and my husband and I have recently started a nonprofit here to sort of help gay folks in the area get to know each other, because there aren't any resources here. And part of that is building out a pretty robust network of queer-friendly businesses that won't turn people away, where people can go in and be themselves and that kind of thing. And that's what we needed in our little sort of conservative pocket of Illinois here. So finding that connection is so important. And this goes beyond just talking to the queer community too. I think finding your connection to your community is really, really important for growing your business for anybody of any walk of life. So specifically for our community though, as an agent, as a team leader, as a team leader of a team that has a lot of queer folks on it, how do you see your role in helping to support and uplift the LGBT community in your Orlando area?
So as a team, we give back to the community through participation in their events and also through sponsorship. So the participation comes through a couple of different methods. We have, LGBTQ team members who are actively involved in different LGBTQ associations and organizations, whether they're on the board or on planning committees. So that's one way where they're representing our belief as a team, which is to be involved in the community. Even outside the LGBTQ community, we are a really diverse team. And we have other team members that are part of the Hispanic associations and the Asian associations as well. So I'm really proud to be diverse in multiple facets as a team leader, just to be able to show that's a large priority for us is diversity and inclusion, because we also have multilingual agents as well. I'm still trying to learn, but not there yet. But the main event for us on the LGBTQ side is being a sponsor of Come Out with Pride. And so we'll have a booth every year representing our team, and also EXP. If there's any other team leaders or EXP team members who want to join and celebrate Pride with us in October, everyone's welcome. We do it in close collaboration with the LGBTQ network with EXP, so they're well aware of. And Scott Wilson, I think, who was on did an episode.
Yeah. That was our first Pride Month episode this month.
Yeah. So he's been a great advocate and an advocate for our team, but also an advocate for the LGBTQ and 1EXP locally in Central Florida as well, with his activities. So proud of his work and everything he's done too. So
yeah, it's such a big deal, and it's obviously monumentally important to be in Florida and visible at the moment, right? Because there's so much backlash there, and we got a lot of that feedback when we were at Shareholder Summit in Orlando. Why would the company pick Florida to go when there's so much anti-LGBT sentiment? And I really, I think Scott and I were really vocal in that of this is the time when we should be showing up for those people, right? So it's so vitally important. It's kind of the reason that what I'm talking about, what Lee and I are doing here in Danville, is if there's nothing, if nobody is here to help, then it's sort of on us to use our privilege and our power to do it. I love that. And your team is so incredibly diverse. Every time we have the events and your team shows up to the LGBTQ plus mixers and stuff like that, it's like, gosh, it really is a very, very diverse team comparatively, on paper and in person. It's a beautiful team you've built.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Couldn't do it without them. And I want to go back. I think building that community and that connection resource that you're doing in your small town is crucial and should be inspirational to anyone. If you feel like you're in a community and there's not those resources, then be bold and start bringing people together. And on social media is the easiest way to get plugged in the beginning, right? And trying to find other people who are a part of your tribe and bring them together for collaboration.
It really is. We thought we'd start with just doing a survey, and we hit people out with a survey, and we were a little shocked to find that here in Deep Blue, Illinois, in our community, we got over 88% of respondents saying that they would not be comfortable being openly gay in public in our city. 88%. That's wow. We need spaces where we feel safe. And so we thought we had to do something. And I think we as EXP agents or EXP staff, something that is built into being successful at this job is you have to be good at social media, right? Mm-hmm. So why not use those skills for good outside of work as well, right? That's sort of was my take on it. So what steps do you take to ensure that the LGBTQ plus individuals and families feel safe and welcomed when they're searching for homes through your team?
We're pretty forward, and we actually have a guide, an LGBTQ home buyer guide, that we offer those customers that kind of outlines things that they should consider as an LGBTQ couple. And then obviously just based on experience, there's always that question of like, okay, where should we live if we're an LGBTQ family shopping in these Central Florida counties? Central Florida is very different than Tampa Bay, which is very different than the Panhandle, which is very different than Jacksonville. So Florida is not consistent across the board. And there's a reason I personally live in Orlando versus other cities. I
was a Jacksonville resident for 3 years. I can speak to it being pretty different than the summer I spent in Orlando.
Yes, quite. And so we provide resources, and I think that's the key, is making sure, especially because there's a lot of times I would say there's a lot of LGBTQ buyers who are moving into Central Florida or into Orlando. In fact, last week we had someone visiting, and actually this week, Monday, we had someone visiting who's moving because they just got a job offer with Disney, of course. And, so we were showing him around and making sure that they're able to tap into the LGBT community and the resources that the community offers. Like, here are the businesses that support us. Here are the restaurants and the organizations that are very open, and that kind of thing. Making sure that they know where to find those resources and how to tap into, so that they know that they're moving to a community that has a network for them to plug into is the most important thing. And also what we have found the most valuable to those customers.
Yeah, that's pretty vital. And I think it's a little bit, we've seen such a shift in the past 3-4 years, because we were at a place in the country where a lot of businesses would have like a pride flag up in the window, or they'd put some marker or signifier that they were a safe space or a space with allies. And we see a lot of that going away now. I know here with the little entity that we've created here in Danville, one of the first things we created was a nice little window sticker that's just the name of the city and a little heart with a rainbow flag. Easy, right? So far, I know we have a robust list of businesses that do consider themselves allies and would stand up for you, but none of those businesses would be willing to put that sticker in their door, right? For fear of reprisal and losing business. That's kind of the climate we're in right now. So I think having that that guide that you've got is really may have seemed important a few years ago, but is very, very important right now. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, is your local municipality supportive?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think that has a huge impact, especially as business owners, right? If we have a storefront and we do support the community, but we can't we're fearful of visibly supporting the community. That I think is a true indicator of what the local municipality, basically their support, if they're supporting or not. So
yeah. It's a tricky little city that we live in. It's a factory town, and the factories have closed, and now it's, you see lots of the old American rural towns that are kind of slowly dying, but ours is sort of dying at an exponential pace. We've lost a lot of business in the past year, a lot of business, but there's still queer people here. They still exist, right? So we're trying to find something. We actually have had a Pride Festival 2 years in a row that have been fairly successful. And what's crazy is with the Pride Festivals that we're having in these little rural towns in Illinois, I'm following the news and I'm seeing so much backlash online and not one in-person protester. It's a little, things are shifting in a weird way. That's kind of the undercurrent that I'm feeling, right?
It's easier to hide behind a monitor.
It really is becoming easier to hide behind a monitor. Yeah. So talking about Pride Month, what does Pride Month mean to you personally and professionally?
Personally, I think it's just a great time to celebrate.
Yeah.
So for us personally, we actually enjoy traveling and visiting other friends in communities outside of Orlando, because ironically, Orlando Pride is in October, not in June.
Yeah. And thank God for that, because June in Orlando is not.
Oh yeah, the heat here, it's not pretty. So we're happy with that. Typically my partner and I, we like to travel and check out other Pride celebrations in other cities during Pride Month. And this year we'll be going to New York, which is super exciting, which is this upcoming weekend. If anyone wants to know where I'll be at. That's our personal kind of method, but on the business side, it's more so just supporting the community and reaching out to others and connecting, because there are a lot of events that happen locally, even with the Chamber of Commerce and the Realtor Association. So we show our support and give back through those meetings and events that they put on during the month.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. And there's so much we talked a little bit about before, but the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance does a ton of great stuff and great programming for folks to get plugged into if they're members or not members, or even during Pride Month, they have some stuff that's for folks like me that are real estate professionals that aren't agents. During Pride Month, we just had on a really great ERG leaders panel where we all put our heads together and talked about what we're feeling and what we're seeing and how we're moving forward and how we're handling, for instance, the monumental backlash against NAR's Pride post on Instagram, which was just so heinous. And how do you handle those conversations when it's sort of like the call is coming from inside the house kind of deal, where it's our own realtors being so unsupportive of Pride efforts and vocally against that kind of thing. What was your take on that? Did you happen to have you seen NAR's post for Pride and what the comment section was like on that?
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't.
Yeah, it's probably for the best, But for folks that don't know what I'm talking about, I would, if you're wondering why Pride Month is still necessary, why Pride Month is still vital, why the fight is not over, go take a look at National Association of Realtors on Instagram and check out their quick, easy, breezy Pride Month post that they posted, and then take a look in the comment section. We got a lot of work to do as realtors.
I have a feeling that they stopped commenting from that.
Yeah. I mean, the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance offered a set of steps that NAR could take to handle the discourse around this post, and NAR has not taken any action yet. But we'll see. We're hopeful, right? We want to feel that NAR supports us, so we're hopeful there.
It's kind of surprising. I mean, I guess it's not surprising. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
That our policy and ethics written as a organization as large as NAR. It's supposed to be all about equal rights, yet as there's thousands of realtors across the country who don't.
Yeah. That and once again, I think it's a great way to show the world why this is still important, right? Just check out some of the hate that we get on this stuff. It's wild, right? In 2024, it's a lot. So, are there any specific Pride Month events or initiatives this year that you're really excited about?
Yours.
Yeah, ours. Yeah. We've done, the Pride Network has done quite a bit. And we're proud of a lot of it. I'm particularly proud of that Pride Parade that we had at EXP this year. That was really nice. And then leading into the Pride History Experience, which is great. If you aren't familiar with Frame, at EXP, we have this lovely virtual world that's like a version of the video game The Sims, sort of on steroids. And we moved the Pride History Experience, which is this big virtual museum, into Frame. And they've been telling me as I'm building these experiences, we don't think you can fit that much stuff in there, Cody. And it keeps working. And they keep telling me, eventually you're going to put enough in here and it's going to break. And then we're going to finally know the limit of Frame. We did it. We crashed Frame with the Pride History Experience. So we had to scale back a little bit. But luckily all the scale backs were just what's that?
What was the final number that broke it?
I think it has to do with the quality of the images we were putting on more than the number of images. But I do know that there are 79 exhibits and something like 1,000 image files in there. And we just had to pare back. Like, now the exhibits don't have a banner at the top that says what the exhibit is. You got to walk in the exhibit and look around. Because we couldn't add 78 more banner images, right? Because that was the crashing point. But and we use a lot of 3D assets too. We had to pull a lot of those out. I can't put a statue of Alexander the Great in the exhibit about Alexander the Great. It takes too much bandwidth. But yeah, that's all. If you ever want to check out that experience, even if you're not an EXP agent, you can reach out to me and I'll get you a pass. But it's just at exp.world/pride. It's really cool. We enjoyed that. So let's talk about addressing discrimination. Have you encountered any challenges or discrimination within the real estate industry because of your support for the LGBTQ community?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
By consumers or by other realtors?
A little bit of both. Yeah, tell us.
Luckily, most of the time, it's just ended in like, I'm a very non-confrontational person. So none of them have ended in confrontation in a bad way, but it's disheartening when there's a backlash of comments or, just when you walk into a room or an event and if you've been closeted, you can understand what I say. Here we go. When you've been closeted, you can understand when I say, like, you know that when you walk into certain rooms and people are talking about you and it's not in the most kind eyes or kind ways, and you see comments afterwards or later or hear comments from people regards to certain people saying certain things, it's just yeah.
It can be a lot. Yeah. It
can be draining. It's emotionally draining, and it's just also, it's like how you guys call yourself professionals, but you're not acting even in any professional way. And that's the thing that I just lose respect for people if that's how they want to conduct their lives.
Yeah, it can be a lot. As a DEI professional who has to oversee all of our different 1EXP resource groups, there's a lot of playing to the middle that I have to do, right? And that was something that both of our dear friend Jessica Nieto helped me sort of hone that skill of being able to see from other people's perspectives and meet them where they are. because
how many years did it take to learn that skill?
Work in progress still, it's a work
Yeah.
in progress still, because sometimes somebody will say something that's so heinously opposed to what I believe, right? But you have to talk to them like a human being, right? I don't think anybody is just stamp them as a homophobe or a racist, and that's it. That's all that there is that encompasses all of their being. People are multifaceted, right? And you can dig into that and peel back that onion and find that there's a person under there, and there's somebody who maybe doesn't understand the impact of what they're saying.
I think that's
I
think that's a big question to ask is what they're saying out of malicious intent or out of ignorance?
Right.
Right.
I think we find a lot more ignorance these days, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think it has to do with the media that we consume and the political nature of the environment in the United States at the moment. But something that I carry the banner for everywhere I go is that none of these communities, the LGBT community, the Black community, the Latino community, none of these communities are inherently political. They're not, right? You can politicize all you want to the fact that I'm married to a man, but the fact of the matter is it doesn't really have that much of an impact on you. And it's me being married to my husband is not a political statement. It's an act of love and truth, right? And that's it, right? Because when you start to separate the person and start to put in the political aspect, that's when you're dehumanizing people. And that's why so many of our, particularly Black and brown trans folks, are beaten, because they're not human in the eyes. They're an ideal that somebody opposes. And when you take that humanity away from somebody, it's a really dangerous path to tread. So I try to, as much as I can, see people in the same way of, if I just see someone as my political adversary, my opponent, that stripped away their humanity in the same way that they're trying to do to us. And I sort of prescribe to the Michelle Obama, we go high, type of thing, take the high road. That's the way that I've always tried to be. And, Jessica's given me a lot of great tips for why that can be useful in mending fences and building bridges and helping people come together. And it also really helps to have great examples of folks from those same communities, these people that say these kind of things represent. I pretty frequently use the example of EXP's military network. EXP's military network is among the most diverse of our resource groups, among the most welcoming of our resource groups. I went to my first military breakfast at an EXP event at a time when I had blue hair and painted blue fingernails, and sat at a table by myself because I was thinking, I don't know who's going to get along with me. The only people I know from this group are up on stage. I don't know what's going to happen. And it was maybe less than 4 minutes later, the table was filled out with people who all wanted to know more about me, genuinely, right? And that's because that group was built with that intentionality of support and love for your fellow human being. And that's what all of our resource groups have to be. They have to be these spaces where everything is allowed except for the demeaning of other people.
Right? And I think One EXP has definitely helped every diverse group adapt that culture.
Yeah.
And
it's something really beautiful that's been there since the first layer of spackle was put on the wall in 2019 when we started building One EXP, right? Mm-hmm. and it's just something that we've tried to cultivate there. What changes would you like to see in the real estate industry to better support and embrace people with queer identities?
Ooh.
That's a big one.
That is a big one. Have
I think that's okay. I think we start with there's still 29 states where you can be fired or legally discriminated against for being gay. So I think supporting the passage of the Equality Act in the House and the Senate is really important. I think visibility is super, super, super important. It's great that we have an LGBTQ plus real estate alliance, but wouldn't it be also great to have a queer person sitting at the head of the table at NAR? Right.
Absolutely. Does NAR even have a diversity and inclusion like
they do
council?
Yeah, they do.
Do they have any?
I will say, my dear good friend who's been on the podcast as well, you probably know him too, Patrick Lynch,
Yes.
was there in a prominent position at NAR that really helped propel things forward. But it's the impact that he had as one single queer person on NAR that had infiltrated leadership, through hard work and the sweat off of his own brow, cannot be understated. So I think as queer people looking for those openings in the greater organizations beyond just the LGBTQ plus real estate alliance are so important, And I think if you are queer and Asian, move up the ranks in ARIA. If you are queer and Latino, move up the ranks in NAREP. If you are queer and Black, move up the ranks in NAREP. And if you're queer and a woman, then go into Woman Up and or the Women's Council of Realtors. I think it's important that we have seats at the top of those tables. I think it's going to be vitally important for seeing our industry change to support us better. I also think a lot of these real estate companies and NAR, but the big ones, us and KW and Remax and all of us, we have to be firm in our messaging around Pride Month and firm in that messaging throughout the year and stick to our guns about non-discrimination when people start to show us their true colors. We believe them, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's key because not only is it better supporting our organizations and diversity across, but like bringing the huge benefit to any entity or any organization is bringing a group of people of diverse backgrounds together, because you get a more wider, diverse set of ideas and you get a wider set of experience to actually make better decisions.
It's so true.
So even just if you look at it from a business perspective, I always thought it was a smarter business perspective that organizations shouldn't be overlooking.
Yeah, it's very, very important. It's something that we preach a lot is the sort of diversity hiring thought proposition, where if you have 10 people on your team and they all come from similar backgrounds, when you ask them to show their work of how they got to a solution, they're all going to show the same work. The team leader's not going to learn anything from that. If you have 10 people from 10 different backgrounds, they might all come up with the same answer. But if you look at their long math, they all came at it from a different angle, and there's something to be learned there that makes stronger, more impactful, more brilliant teams that are more versatile and able to adapt to change. And if anything is, par for the course in our business is change, right? So got to be ready for that.
That's one thing that will never change.
Yeah, one thing that'll never change. Real estate business is always going to change. Yeah. What advice do you have for others, real estate agents that are looking to create more inclusive environments and communities and teams?
Build it.
Build it yourself.
Build it yourself. Don't let anyone stop you. Don't listen to anyone who says it can't be done or you shouldn't do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be a leader from that perspective, then seek out people or organizations that are inclusive and volunteer support. Yeah,
right. And if you find that organization doesn't exist in your community, make it. Build it. I love that. Can you share a success story where your efforts significantly impacted or helped an individual or a family within the queer community?
Yes. So we helped this buyer who was struggling with having a very hard relationship with their family. And so they needed to move out in a very quick timeline. And it wasn't, a giant sale or anything like that, but it was an introduction that happened through the Zebra Coalition, which is an organization in Orlando. And they were looking for housing because they just got a new job and they came out to their family, and their family didn't accept them. So it was very impactful because they were incredibly smart and wanted to get more involved in the Zebra Coalition for helping make the connection in the Pride Chamber. And we were able to help them transition quickly to their own safe environment to build their future that they wanted, even with losing, that relationship with their family at that time. So
yeah,
it's been years since that one, but it was earlier on in my career. And I just felt like, it just impacted my life being able to help them so much. So I'll never forget it.
Yeah, those ones stick with you for sure. Yeah, that's early on in my my advocacy work. I used to work in the banking sector, and I was just really involved with our LGBTQ employee resource group, and we put together this program where a local charity, ACR Health, was building these gift boxes for LGBTQ homeless youth in the area. I was in Syracuse, New York at the time, and winters are brutal there. And so, we worked to figure out what's the best way that we can give these people a gift that keeps them warm and happy and healthy and feel like somebody loves them on Christmas. And my idea was, if we're going to do these sort of clear plastic shoebox sized things, they needed to be clear and plastic so they could take them into a shelter without being searched. What if, beyond the gifts, I just took the extra 2 or 3 minutes to do a goofy little doodle on the inside with an inspirational quote from somebody that inspired me? And after 2 or 3 years of giving out these boxes, we were up to giving out about 250 boxes a year. And somebody came on, and when we were handing out that third round, and they still had that box top, and you could tell that they were taking a Sharpie and recoloring it in where it would get smudged, and they kept it up in their room, and it pushed them and motivated them to do better in their life. And now they had a job, and they'd reconnected with their family, and they had their kids back. And it was like it still sticks with me. You know what I mean? Like, I won this little award here. I won this pink sneaker award for those efforts, but it's that story that sticks with me more than that, and it's just, yeah, you never know when you're going to impact somebody in a way that changes your life, right?
And it's those little actions, right?
Yeah.
That simple action of you just writing the quotes with not knowing the impact, but just doing that consistently, and that little touch of kindness over and over again, positively trickling out to other people.
Right.
That's how we make out every community is better, right?
Yeah,
can we just go back to what grandma said and treat everyone with kindness?
That's it, exactly. Yeah, and everybody else, it would have been perfectly fine for us to go about our business and fill these boxes with goodies, but are they 2, 3, 10 years down the line going to remember that set of hand warmers or that piece of candy or that glove, or the thing that was said to them, right, and was inscribed there? So my goofy little doodles made it far and wide. I'm not an artist, not in the slightest, but my goofy little doodles, like I do a quote from David Bowie and do a little lightning bolt, or do a quote from Harry Potter and give a little glasses with a lightning bolt.
You have to find photos of these doodles.
Yeah, they're horrific, but people like them. People like them. They open the box and they're like, well, this is different from last year. Yeah, I wish I was still doing a project. Actually, I probably should put that back together in my community now. So we're talking about getting inspired and stuff. Who or what inspires you to keep pushing for greater inclusion and support?
Someone who I met recently. I don't know if you're familiar with her, Ashley Brundage. No, you mentioned banking, and I was like, her background is banking as well. Now she's running for candidate for Florida House. But she's a part of the community, and she was previously in the lending side and the banking side of real estate, and went through a transition while being, supported by the community. And she's a huge advocate for diversity and inclusion, and has a wonderful book and a workshop series as well that really focuses on training companies to value the diversity and of their employees, but also you can take like these quizzes and tests to really showcase like the strengths of the different diversities. And so it's a fascinating, campaign, and how she's been able to kind of showcase the positivity through diversity. But just watching her grow her career over the years and the impact that she's had, she's been an inspiration to me to see how can we be more involved in not just our community, but the other communities that our members are a part of. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make a ton of sense to me. And I, similarly, my inspiration, lots of people know this, I talk about her all the time, but there's a woman named Amber Hikes who was the first ever officer, LGBTQ liaison to the mayor's office of a major city in the country. And she was the LGBTQ liaison to the mayor's office of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, around 2016, 2017. She was the one that proposed adding the black and brown stripes to the pride flag. And the discourse that arose out of that, if you're familiar or remember what the backlash was from the queer community to the thought of adding more stripes to our flag, it inspired me so much to confront the biases within our own community that we consider such a rainbow, such a big, open, the rainbow encompasses everybody. But getting to hear the other side of that, of, the rainbow doesn't encompass me because we've been left out historically. And she gave a speech at Out and Equal Workplace Conference in 2017 that I attended, and she had this great quote that was just about weaponizing and recognizing and weaponizing your privilege, and using it for the benefit of those that are hoarse from speaking on their own behalf, sort of deal. It's not the responsibility of women to speak up against misogyny, or the responsibility of gay folks to speak up against homophobia, or trans folks to speak up against transphobia, or older folks to speak up against ageism. It's your responsibility and my responsibility to use our seats at the table to speak for those people, so that they're not the only voices spreading, the mission of what they need out of life. That impacted me a lot. I still really look up to her. That would be my answer to the inspiration question. So we're going to wrap this up. Any final messages you'd like to share with our listeners about the importance of embracing your community during Pride Month?
Don't do it just during Pride Month.
Yeah. But
that's so important. Get plugged in virtually, in person, get involved, see how you can help. There's always organizations and leaders that can use your help, and you can help them grow to the next level, specifically the organization. So get involved, stay plugged in, and give back, because we all need to be a little bit more kinder in this world.
Yeah, it's so true. And we always end with the same question on CultureCast. The question is, if somebody came to you today, Ben, and said, it's my first day at eXp Realty, what advice would you give me?
Find your tribe. I feel like I love our organization, and I think there's so many resources that are available at eXp, and it's the best brokerage out there. I also know now that it's a brokerage of 90,000 agents. And when I joined, it wasn't a brokerage of 90,000 agents. So find your tribe, whether that's One eXp, the LGBT organization, or any of the diversity or inclusion groups, or a local or a local chapter or other organization close to you. Find your tribe, because you'll feel the sense of community and you'll feel the support being part of that local or smaller group within eXp Realty rather than just one person out of 90,000.
Yeah, it's so important. And that's really the message that we hear over and over and over again. 95% of our responses are exactly that. Find your tribe. Yeah. All right. Well, Ben, thank you so much for being with us today. And we're going to hit the outro, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for having me.
Joining us on this episode of CultureCast. If you have time, please be sure to scan the QR code on screen now to leave us a review on Glassdoor. See you next time.